Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Young Dong-mo with the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea. I am very honored to be part of this program next 5 days. If you need any assistance, please let me know at any time. Let me begin the welcome events by inviting Mr. Jong-in Park, Vice President of National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea, for his opening remarks.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 2021년 해양생명자원 통합정보시스템 글로벌 여성 선도자 육성 프로그램에 참석해 주신 여러분들을 국립해양생물자원관 모든 직원과 함께 진심으로 환영합니다. 아울러 존경하는 송상근 해양정책실장님, 수잔 키란 차관님, 박영규 주 PD 대사님, 국제해적기구 이지연 국장님, 라갑체 코이카 PD 사무소장님, 그리고 프로그램에 참석하신 24분의 참석자분들께 감사의 인사를 드립니다. 또한 이 프로그램 개최를 위하여 함께 노력해 주신 해양수산부, PD정부, 코이카 국제해적기구 관계자분들에게도 깊은 감사를 전합니다. 특히 바쁘신 일정과 다른 시차에도 불구하고 좌장을 맡아주신 이지연 국장님과 국제해적기구 강사분들께도 특별한 감사를 드립니다. 존경하는 참석자 여러분, 국립해양생물자원관은 해양수산부에서 2015년에 설립한 아주 젊은 기관입니다. 하지만 짧은 역사 동안 우리 관은 해외의 전문가, 연구자들과 함께 어떻게 하면 해양생명자원 정보 시스템을 효율적으로 구축할 것인지 그 방안을 꾸준히 연구해 왔습니다. 그 이유는 해양생물 다양성의 보존과 해양생명자원의 지속가능한 이용을 위해서는 반드시 이 시스템이 필요하다는 강한 믿음이 있었기 때문입니다. 자원관은 그 과정에서 러시아, 베트남, 말레이시아에 공동연구소를 설립했으며 동티모르, 코스타리카와도 협력체계를 구축했습니다. 뿐만 아니라 생물다양성협약, 해양연안 생물다양성 국가연락처로서 2017년, 2019년에는 해양생물다양성협약 3국가 공동으로 소위 트레인 업 트레이너스 프로그램을 우리 관에서 일주일씩 개최하기도 했습니다. 그리고 국제해적기구와는 협력 의향서를 맺었을 뿐만 아니라 심해 분류학 연구를 위한 2차례의 워크숍을 개최하였습니다. 이번 해양생명자원 통합정보시스템 글로벌 여성 선도자 육성 프로그램은 국립해양생물자원관이 그간의 국제협력 경험을 기반으로 주관하는 첫 번째 글로벌 연수 사업입니다. 또한 국립해양생물자원관이 PG와 함께하는 첫 번째 협력 사업이기도 합니다. 이번 프로그램을 시작으로 국립해양생물자원관과 PG 간의 해양생명자원에 관한 협력 사업이 활발히 이루어지기를 기원합니다. 오늘 참석해 주신 24분이 그 협력 관계의 시작이 되어 주실 것이라 믿습니다. 존경하는 참석자 여러분, 10월 한국의 청명한 가을 하늘 아래 아름다운 국립해양생물자원관의 캠퍼스에서 벌어질 예정이었던 이번 프로그램이 온라인으로 이루어져 정말 아쉽습니다. 하지만 존경하는 의장님과 강사진 그리고 참여하신 분들의 열정과 전문성을 고려할 때 앞으로 5일간 진행될 근본 프로그램이 무척 기대되고 또한 성공적으로 진행될 것이라고 확신합니다. 오늘 참석해 주신 분들 모두 유익한 시간으로 보답받으셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Now I'd like to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Susan Kiran, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Service of Fiji, for the welcome speech.
His Excellency, Mr. Park, the Country Director of Korea International Cooperation Agency, the KOICA Fiji office, the Director of Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries Korea, the Director General of the International Seabed Authority, representatives of National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea, and program participants. It is indeed a privilege to be here with you all this afternoon. I'm pleased to see this group of 24 bright young women who have been selected by their respective organizations to attend this first ever Global Women's Leadership Training Program in Marine Bioresources Information System over the next few days. You are all here because you play a significant role in your respective organizations. You are here because you have the potential to develop into leaders in marine science. And in this training is a step forward toward developing your leadership capabilities through the enhancement of your technical capacity and research skills in this specific area. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has not deterred KOICA's efforts to upskilling our public servants. I wish to acknowledge the efforts of KOICA for its continued commitment in providing virtual training and development opportunities despite the restrictions due to the pandemic. In 2021 alone, 39 public servants were selected to attend the 2 online training programs offered by KOICA. And you, young women, are part of the expanding community of civil servants who are fortunate to attend trainings offered in partnership with KOICA, and who have continued to take advantage of these training opportunities and did not allow the pandemic to dampen your spirit of learning. I also wish to acknowledge KOICA's efforts in ensuring that participants are fully supported during their trainings through the provision of laptops. This support by KOICA has proven to be extremely beneficial to all participants, and I thank you wholeheartedly for this. At this juncture, I'm also pleased to acknowledge another significant milestone in the relationship between Fiji and the Republic of Korea. This year marks the Golden Jubilee of Fiji and Korea's diplomatic relations, which signifies the exemplary partnership and commitment between the two nations in pursuing our shared goals and aspirations. I warmly congratulate the Korean government for this milestone and for organizing the photo exhibition to celebrate 50 years of our diplomatic relations. Finally, to all the participants, this is the first time in a few months where most of you would have had the opportunity of coming together in person to learn from each other, learn from the experts from the Republic of Korea, and to build your network. I encourage you all to make maximum use of this opportunity to build on your existing knowledge and skills, to enjoy the training, and to further develop your knowledge and understanding. So please make this training as interactive as possible. Be enthusiastic, ask questions, and share ideas. Seize all possible opportunities to broaden your abilities to reach your highest potential for your development and for the benefit of the organization you represent. Once again, I sincerely thank KOICA and the Government of Korea for your continued support towards building capabilities and training and development opportunities for the Fijian civil service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your kind words. Now, let me invite His Excellency, Mr. Young-Gyu Park, Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Fiji.
the esteemed Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Service of Fiji, Ms. Susan Kiran, and esteemed Deputy Minister of Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries of Korea, Mr. Sang-gun Song, and Director of the International Seabed Authority, Dr. Ji-hyun Lee, and Country Director of the KOICA Fiji Office, Mr. Gapche Ra, and facilitators of the training program of the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea, dear participants and fellow stakeholders, Pulavinaka, and warm greetings to you all. And also 안녕하세요 in Korean. It's a big privilege to welcome you all today, and I'm delighted to meet face to face with you all after months of restrictive measures against the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the efforts of the Fijian government towards reaching its target vaccination rate and preparing Fiji for the new normal. And thanks to the Fijian government's proactive approach to the pandemic, I think we are able to meet with each other today and conduct the face-to-face training program here. And as you may know, this training program, the titled Global Women's Leadership Training Program in Marine Bioresources Information System, has been organized by KOICA in collaboration with the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea. It aims to mainstream gender equality into taxonomy, ecology, repository management, database management, and outreach programs, which are fundamental elements of the National Marine Bioresource Information System. And furthermore, this would provide an opportunity to raise awareness of the importance of gender equality in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and highlight the important contribution of women worldwide to the marine sector. And KOICA, together with the relevant stakeholders, envisages creating an environment in which women are empowered in the area of marine and bioresources, ports, and the maritime, and promoting gender equality in the marine space. The Korean government is proud to provide such training programs, and this will ultimately support the achievement of the SDGs. And in this regard, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to Ms. Susan Kiran, the esteemed Permanent Secretary, for her presence today. As one of the high-level female government officials of Fiji, I believe her attendance today will motivate our trainees or participants to thrive in their respective careers. And dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, taking this opportunity, I'd like to highlight that we are proudly marking the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Fiji and Korea this year. The two countries have worked side by side in tackling the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been very encouraging. And our close relationship in battling against the pandemic has been an ideal example of the fortifying and the growing bond of our two countries. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, Korean Embassy is hosting an exhibition today here at the GPH, maybe at the next room. featuring photos of famous tourist attractions in Korea. And I'd like to invite all of you to this exhibition where you can appreciate beautiful sceneries of Korea and enjoy Korean culture. And with these words, I wish all the participants the very best and the fruitful training for the next 5 days. Thank you. 비나카 바칼레브 and 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your presence today, and I really appreciate your support. Now let me invite Mr. Kapche Ra, Country Director of KOICA Fiji Office, for his remark.
Sujan Kyan, former Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Service, Your Excellency Young-Gyu Park, Ambassador of the Republic of Korea, Sang Keun-song, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, Dr. Ji-hyun Lee, Director of the International Seabed Authority, Jung In Park, Vice President of National Maritime Biodiversity Institute of Korea. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, Blabinaka, and good afternoon, good morning to Korea. 안녕하세요. Already the ambassador explained in Korean language. 안녕하세요 means blah. So you should learn 1 or 2 Korean language in this training program. 안녕하세요. And 감사합니다. 감사합니다 means thank you. So it is my great pleasure to welcome and meet all of you face to face in this KOICA training program. For participants who may not be familiar with KOICA, I would like to introduce KOICA and KOICA Fiji Office briefly. Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, is Korea's development cooperation agency to implement grant aid and technical cooperation programs. KOICA's main value can be expressed as 5 P's: people, peace, prosperity, planet, and partnership. KOICA Fiji office was first established in 1995 and reopened in 2016. Since its reopening, KOICA Fiji office has supported several programs based on 3 major priorities, such as climate change, health, and education. We call 3 priorities as Green Island, Health Island, and Smart Island. In terms of education, we have been implementing 2 training programs for 39 Fijian officials in this year. This online training program will focus on enhancing women's capacity and leadership in the field of marine bioresources information system. Another objective of KOICA training program is to share Korea's experience and to promote mutual understanding between Korea and partner countries. Human resources development is one of key factors to economic development. I believe that human resources development in Korea has also contributed to achievement of rapid economic growth. For human resources development in Fiji, KOICA Fiji office will continue making efforts to support capacity building for people from the Fijian government and public entities through technical cooperation like this kind of training program. Until now, more than 500 Fijian officials have participated in KOICA short-term training program and master degree training program. I would like to express my gratitude to all participants for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be a part of the Quaker training program. In special, I knew from the outer island, some participants come to this main island. So thank you for taking your precious time. Lastly, I appreciate the Quaker and Mavic members to arrange today's wonderful event and training program. Thank you. 비나카 바칼레브 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ra. I'd like to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation to you and your office for supporting this program. And now I invite His Excellency, Mr. Sang Geun-song, Deputy Minister of Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, I would like to express my deepest congratulations to the opening of a global women's leadership training program in marine bioresources information system. Also, I wish to express my special appreciation to Her Excellency Ms. Susan Kiran, Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Civil Service, Fiji. His Excellency Mr. Young-Gyu Park, the Ambassador of Korea in Fiji. Dr. Jian Lee, Director of the Office of Environmental Management and Mineral Resources, International Seabed Authority. And Mr. Gapje Rak, the Country Director of Quaker Fiji Office, for your presence. I believe it holds much significance in that Fiji and the Republic of Korea co-host this event for the first time to enhance the value of marine biodiversity and to enhance the bilateral cooperation. The ocean, the birthplace for life, is home to 240,000 marine species. Such biodiversity in the ocean lays the foundation of healthy marine ecosystem and has provided humanity with abundant seafood for survival for a long time. In the future, I believe that ocean holds even greater potential as a natural asset which can be further utilized in the form of energy and medication. The Republic of Korea is geographically surrounded by the ocean with much marine biodiversity and recognize the value of marine biodiversity via pursuing to establish systematic management to utilize them. As a part of effort, the Korea government established Act on Securing Management Use in 2012 to promote the sustainable and effective use of marine biodiversity. In 2015, Natural Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea was built, which oversees the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity. Through conducting annual survey on regular basis, Korea successfully secures marine biodiversity. With secured marine resources, the Korean government identifies species by consulting with experts, register related information on marine bioresources information system, and provide relevant groups, including researchers. In addition to this, Korea operates the Marine Biobank that discovers and provides necessary materials from the marine resources to foster marine bio industry. The Korea government is sparing no effort to build international trust on the quality of such resources by receiving certificate from ISO. Also, through conducting joint research with the business sector in regard to marine bioresources, Korea aims to achieve industrialization in marine biodiversity. I understand that Fiji, located in the Pacific Ocean, is known as a living treasure with abundant resources like mangrove, seaweed, and coral. With rich resources, I also recognize that Fiji has a large group of excellent experts in the field of marine biodiversity. I truly wish that two countries put the wisdom together to further enhance the true value of marine bioresources via the program which is arranged to take place for the next 5 days. The Republic of Korea and Fiji are 8,000 kilometers apart from each other with 3 hours difference in time, yet the two countries are connected by the ocean. The two nations have much in common, that both have a close relationship with the ocean. It is my sincere hope that two nations can further enhance the cooperation in the field of marine biodiversity, starting from the program this year. Once again, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who are here today for your presence. I wish you are the best in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, for your kind words. And indeed, we owe a lot to the ministry from the beginning of this program. Finally, I'd like to invite Dr. Jian Lee, Director of the International Seabed Authority, as well as the chair of this program.
Warm greetings from Jamaica. My name is Jihan Lee. I'm the Director of Office of Environmental Management and Mineral Resources at the International Seabed Authority. On behalf of the Secretary General of International Seabed Authority, it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this Global Women's Leadership Training Program on Marine Bioresources Information System organized by MABIC, the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea for Fiji. I would like to begin by congratulating MABIC for setting up this training program. I'd also like to express my thanks to the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries of the Republic of Korea and the Korean International Cooperation Agency for their generous support. We are very grateful to MABIC for inviting the International Seabed Authority to co-design the training program and contribute to the implementation of this important initiative. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea mandates ISA to regulate and control seabed mineral activities in the international seabed area. The convention also requires ISA to promote and encourage marine scientific research in the area, as well as to strengthen the capacities of developing states in relevant fields. The responsibility to ensure the effective protection of the marine environment from harmful effects that may arise from such activities is at the core of this mandate. In the past several years, the ISA Assembly adopted the strategic plan and the high-level action plan of the ISA for the period of 2019 to 2023, and the ISA Action Plan for Marine Scientific Research in support of the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. As part of these plans, ISA is committed to identifying and putting in place relevant measures to strengthen the role of women in marine scientific research and women scientists from developing states in particular. This commitment is reflected in specific efforts to enable increased representation of women in all ISA capacity building activities, including the Contractor Training Program, the Endowment Fund for Marine Scientific Research, internship, and ISA voluntary commitments to support the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal 14. As an international gender champion, the Secretary General of ISA has further made it a priority for ISA to advance women empowerment and leadership in deep-sea research. In this context, ISA has recently partnered with the Office of the High Representative for the Least Developed Countries, Landlocked Developing Countries, and Small Island States of the United Nations to implement the Women in Deep Sea Research project. This flagship initiative aims at enhancing the participation and leadership of women scientists in deep sea scientific research, particularly those from developing states like Fiji. As of today, several member states of ISA have already joined the partnership, as have various private sector entities, international organizations, and research institutions, including MABIC. Taxonomic information forms the basis of the knowledge needed to understand and assess biodiversity and environmental changes that may occur in relation to activities in the area. MABIC has been an essential partner of ISA in its efforts to advance deep-sea taxonomy, especially through the support provided in organizing the workshop on deep-sea taxonomic standardization in 2020 and the workshop on enhancing image-based biodiversity assessment earlier this month. This workshop helped ISA to devise a detailed roadmap of activities that will guide its work on deep-sea taxonomy. Your discussion this week will be a critical step forward for Fiji towards advancing sustainable development of marine resources in a way that benefits humankind as a whole. I'm particularly looking forward to the action plan that will be developed to enhance the generation and sharing of marine bioresources information, which will help ISA identify potential areas of collaboration for future initiatives. I wish you a fruitful discussion and look forward to your active participation in the work of ISA in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, for your warm words. Indeed, I really like to appreciate your contribution and yours and your colleagues' contribution to this program. And I also like to thank all the speakers who find the time between busy schedules. Now we have a handover ceremony, and after that we have a group photo time. Let me give the floor to Fiji, and we'll start presentation of a country report after ceremony and group photo time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yang Dong-mo. So now we are about to begin handover of equipment ceremony. KOICA and the government of Korea are very delighted to provide 24 laptops together with other accessories, including Microsoft Office program and the headsets to the Fijian government to be distributed to the participating ministries and departments to enhance their daily operations. Our distinguished guests, please step forward in front of the table for a picture. Please give a very big round of applause. Thank you very much. Now it's time for a group picture. So everyone, please make your way to the front and make 2 lines and stand in a way that we can all see your face properly. If you're taller than others, maybe you can stand at the back. If you're shorter than others, you can maybe stand in front line. Can everyone come closer to each other so we can all fit in one picture? Okay, even though we can't see your face, say bula. Can we do another shot with informal pose? Informal. You can raise your hands. You can you can do a victory sign. Pinaka, everyone. Okay, thank you, everyone. This is the end of the opening ceremony, and our training program will begin shortly. So please go back to your seat and be seated for the further announcement. Thank you very much.
Once all, okay, let's go ahead. Okay, dear participants, I understand it was not easy task to prepare the country report. However, the country report is the foundation of the action plan. So it is very important. So I really appreciate your work and efforts. And this is how we are going to do this session. First, we are going to have a presentation from the participants and group by group or individual by individual. And it's going to be about 110 minutes, but we like to have tea break during the session. And let me give you the order of presentation, and then based on this order, we are going to have a presentation. First, let me forgive me if I pronounce wrong. I'll do my best. First, Miss Ro Eva Mio, and second, Miss Naitubwa Devi and Tutubo. Third, Miss Rakro Galolo and Bakloloma. Fourth, Miss Khaleesi and Diana Tarisi. And fifth, Miss Ginny Natrarda. Sixth, Miss Nalomaka and Miller. Seventh, Miss Lobenda Purvakarua Visa. Eighth, Miss Kuleta Narieta. And lastly, Miss Sanita Ratu. And you will make a presentation using the Zoom. And if you have any trouble, please let me know, and we'll have let me know. And also I'm advised to make announcement, and once you log in, please wear the headset. And if you are not speaking, please mute your sound so it doesn't interfere other speech. Thank you. So can I let me know if Ms. Eva Mio is ready. While you are waiting for the preparation, let me read the order of presentation again. I'm sure it's not really easy to understand me in this matter. First, Ms. Ro Eva Mio. Second, Ms. Naituba Devi Tutubo. Third, Ms. Rakro Kalolo and Alcol Loma. Fourth, Miss Clacy Diana Tarisi. Fifth, Miss Jin-E Natarda. Sixth, Miss Nalomako and Miller. Seventh, Miss Lovenda Bulavakurua Visa. Eighth, Miss Kuleta Narieta. Ninth, Miss Sarita Ratu. Thank you.
Shasta, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, fellow participants. And if I may start with the county presentation that I had prepared. I had it in PDF format, and it's basically roughly around 7 pages. So I will be very brief. I can give you the copy if you'd want to take note of some of my point of view that I had written up in this presentation. So basically, it will. We all have the same breakdown of information that we were asked to prepare. I just shared a little bit more on the brief background and the objective of this presentation. Next, please. Thank you. So when we're looking at the Republic of Fiji, the fisheries sector within our economic exclusive zone, I briefly describe for us in this report where the fisheries sector is in consideration of our inshore demarcated area and the offshore demarcated areas. I'm also noting that the fisheries sector is one of the major contributing sectors in the country. So the objective of this country report is to identify the development of the sector from the complex and intricate diverse areas where the sector encompasses the socioeconomic livelihood of communities across the Republic of Fiji. Therefore, it will be moving more into our inshore and our fishery and our offshore demarcated areas. Thank you. So for the assessment of marine bioresource information in Fiji, the first part being biological sampling and preservation statuses and challenges. I'd just like to talk more on the reporting forms and templates for biological sampling and monitoring. These are something that we already have in our respective areas of operation, whether it be specifically for the Ministry of Fisheries within the inshore demarcated area or the offshore demarcated area. There's a lot of advancements in this aspect. We've also have had the opportunity to have a lot of informative publications on using widely available tools online. I think this would be more focused towards our tuna, the offshore sector with regards to available tools monitoring, not so much for the inshore demarcated areas. The accessibility to offline software to analyzing data collected in the field in the areas of low to no connectivity to telecommunications. This is one of the threats. It's an existing issue. It's also an area of development. There's also the improved planning skills to execute activities targeting field data collection with regards to biological sampling. There needs to be improvement in planning skills. There's not a lot of this existing in our respective areas for collecting of biological data. The last point under this number 1, biological sampling, some challenges are mostly towards entering of information or data gathered, mostly human error, as it is something that we can't control when we are tired. These are some of the issues that we might face when we do not enter the right kind of information. Although we have online data, we have databases, we have the softwares, but then our inability as humans, this is some of the challenges that we have that can be addressed. There's also the inability to prioritize how data is admitted, how it is analyzed, and the anticipation that the analyzed information is relevant, realistic, and if it is applicable to whatever objective we have with regards to what kind of information we're collecting. Straightforward through to the next part, the taxonomy, status and challenges. What I have identified here is that the status of taxonomy studies in Fiji has been continuously documented over the years from academia, from within the government, and likewise from the international community. There has been support given to the Fijian government on research and survey of our natural resources. These have come in numerous forms and capacities in regards to the adequate enhancements that we have managed to get from previous years up until now. There are publications which are widely available on well-documented terrestrial and aquatic flora and fauna that has also been assisting in our formulation of our legislations. I highlighted specifically here with regards to the Endangered and Protected Species Act, where we have a lot of classifications of our terrestrial flora, fauna, likewise for marine. And there's also the updating of our IUCN Red List, the compliance and the commitments under the CBD, voluntary commitments to the SIDs at the COP meetings, to name a few. I'm basically trying to highlight is the fact that taxonomic studies in Fiji is ongoing, it's evolving. We've done a lot of discussions and meetings with regards to ways of improvement. Lastly, academia, both local and international, have also provided opportunities on research for students and government offices to identify new species, patterns, and behavior in relation to the natural environment. Managing biological information statuses and challenges. Basically, what I had been trying to aim for here is there are some issues with regards to management of information that has been collected. There are frameworks in place in Fiji. For instance, in this country report, I'm sharing a lot about the ABS framework, the Access Benefit Sharing Framework, with the Department of Environment. with regards to how information is gathered from our local communities, including the traditional knowledge that they share. This is, at this point in time, it hasn't been managed in terms of tools to be used. There's also a lot more work needed to be done with regards to sort of like branding it, because this is very valuable knowledge, our traditional environment and traditional knowledge. So one of the challenges that I want to highlight here is the fact that we have to give rights and ownership to those who deserve this kind of information, because it's theirs. It's a part of their livelihood and tradition and customs. The fact that this knowledge that we've collected from relevant fishing grounds and also for land as well. Lastly, part 4, other issues related to marine bio information in Fiji. What I had strongly wanted to emphasize here is the fact that I was talking about earlier this morning with regards to information that is available for marine bioresources in Fiji. We have a lot of research being done from our academic institutions within government, our NGOs, our CSOs, and what's available out there is every institution have their sets of information. There may not be a centralized area for accessibility to these kinds of information. If you want information on fisheries, you have to go to fisheries. If you want information on a specific species that, for example, WWF has had the opportunity of conducting a lot of studies on, we will have to get it from their office. So to have an area where this is centralized, we do not have this at the moment, I believe. It is rather an inconvenience to have limited knowledge on research topics at university levels as well. We do not have the pleasure of coming into a tertiary institution and finding something new to study. There are a lot of areas of development, but this is something that is lacking, I think, in our country. The fact that some of our universities do not have opportunities for other finer, refined studies within the marine or fisheries sector in Fiji, and also for information collection, dissemination, or more towards policy and management frameworks. This could be something that can be shared in our tertiary institutions as one of the courses that they can formulate for us to have access to. I had pointed out here, there is a stagnant status of research initiative that has emerged from these changing times, from pre to post-COVID, or with climate change aspects and mitigation factors that apply to Fiji. Moving on to chapter 2, the assessment of women's leadership in marine scientific research in Fiji, the status of women's leadership in marine scientific research. I'm highlighting the fact that women's leadership roles in this community has been recognized as a need under the United Nations Small Island Development States Ocean Conference that was launched in New York back in 2017. This was one of the key deliverables, to have women representation in leadership roles in the marine sector, marine and fisheries sector, not only within government or academic or CSO, but also with our communities. As most of our, in the fisheries sector, most of our groups in the inshore demarcated areas are held or facilitated by women. In Fiji, and like most other countries in the Pacific region, management of natural resources and livelihoods facilitated by men from both formal and informal sector. This is as traditionally and widely received as the norm and has always been passed on through informal means of dialogue to village meetings within households and for the development of our communities. However, over the years, more opportunities have been given to learn more about the marine scientific field at tertiary levels of education, and with the introduction of these to Fiji's academic institutions, more has been identified in relation to the roles of communities, management and collective approach for all on conservation, awareness policies, and lastly on development. I also wanted to share the fact that currently in the Ministry of Fisheries in the central government, we have leadership roles led by women. For example, in our ministry alone, Fiji Ministry of Fisheries, we have senior executive roles filled by women. We also have this in not only in our technical divisions, but also in our corporate divisions as well. And most importantly, our research division. We have two highly complemented women in these roles. Also for ministries such as the Department of Environment and the Ministry of Education, likewise for the Ministry of Civil Service. And not forgetting to mention our CSOs. We have majority of the CSOs in the country being led by women. So the ability and the capacity of women to hold these roles in this country is there. We have seen them lead us well into the 21st century, into this era. Although there are some capacities that we are lacking in, but I know with time and with more capacity building training, we can have the opportunity to do more or even better. And now challenges in establishing women's leadership in marine scientific research. There are some challenges that are left unattended or not addressed appropriately in a timely manner. These are mostly towards masculinity and being able to undertake activities that are widely known for our male counterparts in the same field. Within the cultural norm of having male dominance in the Pacific, it has taken some effort to address opinions at decision-making platforms or at critical meetings. Light has been shed on this matter, but more can be done to address this issue with the understanding that there are limitations to capabilities by women in the field. There is a noticeable biased nature that restricts growth and development both from men and women the same. In more instances, it is noticed that with women leading in a field, there are extra precautionary measures to take. There's a very high sensitivity towards making the right decision. Noticeable errors are a constant reminder that is highly expressive at times. It's also critical to note that women's leadership paves the way for future leaders in terms of having a well-documented rate of successfully implemented activities. These are mostly towards critical decision-making that has a level of empathy that women engage themselves with. This can be used to single out leaders at times. So with the last part of this presentation, and country report on other issues related to women's leadership in Fiji. Simply put, women have had to constantly adapt to change instantly compared to male counterparts to be able to be heard. This is in addition to being able to manage other roles. I believe that an issue that is hardly addressed or openly discussed is some mental issues to pack or unpack information and being in the moment and implementing activities or meeting targets. That is some of the other issues that I had wanted to note down with regards to women leadership in Fiji. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Dr. Mo, I'm Jihan Lee, by the way, from ISA. I want to say my greetings and Can you hear me? I think Dr. Mo has a connection issue, so I jumped in. Can you just wave your hands if you can hear me? Okay, that's good. So I want to first congratulate Ms. Ro Iba Mio for very comprehensive presentation. I'm learning so much. And I heard so many details, which can be very good basis for your development for the action plan together with other members. I have one question, Ms. Mio. My question is, what at your personal capacity, what would you like to achieve from this workshop? What is your maybe most important expectation that we should keep in mind as a facilitator? Would you like to, can you come over to the microphone and respond?
Thank you, Madam. Firstly, I'd like to say that this training is a huge stepping stone for women in this sector. There's so much to learn. I come from a technical point of from my work. It's more technical, but moving into management and working with communities, most of what I had presented in my country report are from the experiences that I hope that with comments and support from the women in this training, some of the issues can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, we'll focus on, based on all the technical knowledges you are bringing, maybe our facilitators, the group of facilitators will help you in terms of putting into more management perspective and institutional perspective. For example, you highlighted that still, each of institution or project or initiative have information available, but you find it as a constraint in terms of not integrating the data, which is not only the issue in Fiji. So I think at the global level and also at the national level, data sharing is really important issue, because only when the information is integrated, we can really provide meaningful information for policy making and decision making. So thank you so much. And we'll continue to work with you. I wish I can be there in Fiji. I was in Fiji in 2011, and it's been so long time, 10 years ago. So I'm before I joined International Seabed Authority, I've been working for Convention on Biological Diversity for almost 12 years. And at the time, I was able to work with the government of Fiji for EPSA process, the ecologically or biologically significant marine areas. So I'm really happy to engage with all of you, although it's very difficult technically, but I'm sure we'll get to that point. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Ms. Mio. So may I invite the next speaker, Mr. Nabituba Devi Turtubu. I'm sorry if I made a mistake in pronouncing your name. Can I have the next speaker, please? Is Mr. Tutubu, is he available now?
Moving like everybody. Yes, so sorry. We will go through with the presentation for now. We will not take much of your time because we have a limited schedule to present. For group presentation, myself, Olivia, and Romika, we work for biosecurity in conjunction with a presentation with Mary Soni of Ministry of Fisheries. Sorry, I'm just going to take off my mask. Thank you. Funny the silence. Okay. With a group presentation, it wasn't easy for us to actually compile this. I know most of us have a lot of busy schedules to actually go through this country report. But for instance, for our presentation, we did a bit of interview. And this is just a brief overview of what our report submitted to COICA. So the outline is basically on the goal that is already mentioned in our cause outline. I'll just explain on the introduction part. On the content will be explained by Mary and Romika, and I'll be concluding our presentation this morning. Oh, it's good. So the goal to mainstream gender equality into taxonomy, ecology, repository management, database management, and outreach programs, which are fundamental elements of the National Marine Bioresource Information System. This is something that we are engaged in, that is something completely new to each and one of us that we're here today. And going into taxonomy, ecology, repository management, we are not into the technical aspect, into in-depth of this kind of research, but in database management, yes, of course, that's something that we can get access to. But the program's fundamental elements of the National Marine Bioresource Information System, this is such program that will enhance and help us in our development, in a career development. For the introduction, we know that what our country, Fiji, is. So I will not elaborate further on Fiji, because Fiji is the hub of the Pacific, center to everything in the Pacific. So our country is diverse in all the marine biodiversity and also in terrestrial and land biodiversity. And we have the abundance of coral life and a lot of reef forms, fringing platform, barrier, oceanic ribbon, and atolls. This is subject to our report that we actually got this information from. So basically, we all rely on the ocean for subsistence, livelihoods, cultural identity, and a broad range of ecosystem services. And going forth with our content of this presentation, we will explain further on what we have gathered, the information that we managed to gather, and we will explain in a little bit in brief of our presentation on the content. So I will call Mary to continue on with our content of the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. On the chapter 1, assessment of the marine bioresources information on Fiji biological sampling and preservation. Just briefly on biological sampling program, it's provide the information needed to determine the status and the dynamic of populations and communities, and those are the basic for many kind of research. Secondly, sampling methods and procedure is to be carefully analyzed and selected so as to take into account the high variability of most marine systems. Lastly, the different tools are used for biological sampling on the marine species. They are measured by the weight and the length, the sex and the maturity stage of all the marine species, and its preservation methods. We're talking about the biological sampling of these all marine species. So we talk about the sampling, the status and challenges of the biological sampling. The status are currently the different organizations have active projects that use specific design for all scientific research that's based on the information gathered from during the personal interview to some of the researchers we carried out with their interview. The design, they have a different designs for their different projects, or with the international standard protocol with specific project goals.
Secondly, the live marine species tissue are swabbed, weight and length, and can be verified in the lab or in the field. However, for DNA tools, the samples are sent abroad. That's the status, currently status of what's carried on in Fiji. Lastly, the Fiji government policy only allows the sampling of the live species, tagging and release. For the challenges, firstly, the knowledge gap, the gap between the exists between the sciences and the way the community living, and it always challenge to change the mindset of the community as we have a free living in Fiji. So trying to conduct the sampling it's always a challenge. Secondly, the limited accessibility to study sites, ability to conduct research in a very big area. As we know, Fiji have 382 islands, and they have their own difficulty and accessibility of trying to access the target sites for field work. Limited access to resources, the limited resources required to conduct the research. For example, the different equipment used to conduct the field work. Limited expertise to carry out the survey. There will be more investing in conducting training. Projects or groups, they always invest in trying to conduct training for the communities in order to carry on with the research work for the communities. Changing weather pattern, especially conducting seasonal sampling for certain time frame. If there's a change in weather pattern, they will be missing out on significant information that is needed to capture example for seasonal sampling.
For the taxonomy, we all know and understand the term the taxonomy, the study of different marine species, defining and classifying groups of biological organisms based on shared characteristics. So basically in Fiji, we are into taxonomy, but not in-depth research in the sense that we can classify specific species as a new species. We will rely on the guideline, the world guideline or the centralized guideline, with the guidance of the international expertise on taxonomy, which is carried out in Fiji. So I'm sure that we have not come across a Fijian national who's a research scientist to actually identify a new species in Fiji. So taxonomy, we are all based on international world-class taxonomic guideline, or list, class list. So the status, we depend on what the research is trying to identify, which is the current status in Fiji. And the major academic institutions, can we have the next slide, please? Major academic institutions for marine studies in Fiji, we are in the developing stage. So basically our scientific labs are not well advanced into this to identify to actually conduct the taxonomy method and or analysis. Well, in doing so, Ministry of Fisheries, other NGOs, you're all aware, and most of you are all aware that you're all participate in such in various organization activities on marine research, on marine community-based projects that you all take part in, and also we do cultural and traditional taxonomy or identification on the field. But in-depth taxonomy research, which is something that we are all going through this process, there's none in Fiji that actually can go through that certain process to actually identify a new species. That we have to have the expert, international expert who are here that actually guide us through it. And the challenges that we are currently facing is the funding. Obviously, that we are actually in the developing stage, and it is the funds that we are rely on the aid to actually help in the research. And we have limited resources, like we have mentioned, the laboratory. We consider marine USP Marine Campus as one of the laboratory in Fiji that we can rely on. But in advanced technology to get the accurate information, this organization, they send the samples to overseas to get the accurate results, to get the in-depth results. But in Fiji, we're in the basic line and in the developing stage. And limited expertise. I don't think, I mean, that's pardon me, wrong to say. Fiji nationals are in the process of doing such research in marine research, but most important, most are international experts who are in the country, all over the country, and are doing marine scientific research. There's a marine biologist in the Kokoma Island Resort that is actually doing research on manta rays, and they're doing tagging and releasing manta rays in Kokoma Resort. And we have a marine biologist in certain areas. In USP, there's a certain marine biologist focusing on turtle species, and they only get samples and tissues. And for turtles in USP Marine, that's based on the research, they actually get the information because it's already been there. The species, there are 7 species in the world. So Fiji have 4 species which they are easily can identify based on the world-class taxonomy guideline. And with the getting the actual results on the DNA tools and all those certain things, they have to send those tissues to overseas labs in the counterpart with USA counterpart. We actually did a brief of the taxonomy that has been studied in Fiji in cooperation with the information gathered from WCS and WWF and Ministry of Fisheries. So most of you are all aware of this taxonomy list, and it's nothing new to us. So we just go quickly through this list and we move on to the next slide. The biological information on the status and challenges. Like Mary has mentioned earlier, different organizations have different information gathered in the different projects they get involved in, and they have their own published articles online, and only certain information are accessible. And that is the current status that we have in Fiji. Conservation and management of any species is very dependent on the type of information collected. So each organization have their own information for their own preference, for their own references. Either to share the information, it has to be requested for in the relevant managerial authorities. So far, there is no specific database for the marine sampling collected in Fiji where we can all get access information to. Like we have mentioned, each organization have their own information and each research. And that is something that we have to go through certain processes to get that information. And it's not something you can just get it access online. So there's no information database online that anyone can get access to. So the challenges, I've already mentioned everything based on the challenges that we are currently facing. So I will move on forward. The assessment of women's leadership, we'll ask my colleague Ramika to continue on.
Thank you. So I'll be speaking on chapter 2, the assessment of women's leadership in marine scientific research. So it says like status of women's leadership in marine scientific research, and what are some of the challenges in establishing women's leadership in marine scientific research. So the current status are, there is a lack of disaggregated data collection and management to assist reliable and liable gender responsive decision-making by national and regional authorities. The participation and leadership of women in fisheries is increasing and recognized, yet formal qualitative and measurable evidence. In marine studies at USP, the women now get equal opportunities, and they are now slowly moving up to top level. And it is like practiced equally. And some of the challenges, primarily marine has been dominating field for males. However, women have shown interest and continued to progress. Some of the challenges faced is balancing research work with teaching and family life, working in an environment where men usually dominate, engaging to carry out physically demanding work, and the ability to carry out the given work is underestimated. Next slide. So overview, we managed to gather information through personal interview. Ms. Shirtika Prakash, she is a research assistant at USP, and we personally communicated the director, Madam Helen. She is the director for Marine Ecology Consultant. Next, conclusion, I'll ask Madam Olivier to.
Just to conclude our presentation this afternoon, for the information that we have gathered, and we have lack expertise in this field. We still require a lot of training, and so with the way forward, hoping the government of the day will actually support marine research in Fiji, and and provide funds for scientific research, and not only generally scientific research, encourage women to gauge forward and continue further with their studies in this related field. And we would like to acknowledge the COICA team for the opportunity to allow us to attend the training and the relevant information gathered from the stakeholders. And lastly, foremost, to acknowledge the two ladies that actually helped us with our research, Ms. Helen Sykes and Ms. Shritika Prakash. And thank you so much. That is the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed again very much all the details, and I sympathize very much about this balancing work and life, raising children. That has been my life also. So I think whether it's in Fiji or I'm originally from South Korea, although now I'm based in Jamaica. So I think it's a global challenges. And I welcome Dr. Mo back. He had internet issues. And also I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Luciana Genio. She will be actively working with you for this workshop. So may I invite Luciana maybe to share your observations so far from the presentation, because the issues that we are hearing is not a surprise. I think globally, the sharing data, integrating data, and also the lack of funding for biodiversity data collection is rather global issues. So maybe Luciana, would you like to share some of your observation, and also what could be the meaningful way that we can work together at this workshop?
Yes, thank you very much, June, for inviting me. And I'm sorry I haven't said hello before. I'm Luciana Genio from the International Seabed Authority, and it's a great pleasure to be listening to you. I will also make a presentation tomorrow and support the group discussion later. And listening to these reports is really helpful for me also to find the best way that we can continue the discussions in a more effective way. Indeed, like Ms. Lee just mentioned, there are many common issues that we have been listening that we hear now from your experience in Fiji, but they're really global issues in terms of trying to find the best ways to collaborate and be able to make more best use of the information. But one thing that I particularly grabbed my attention in this last presentation, and in regard to the sampling, which is a topic that I will be also guiding from tomorrow, was that it was mentioned that there is some level of processing the samples, but in terms of the DNA sampling, it is mostly sent abroad. And what I would like to ask is in what stage is that? So is there some initial, for example, the extraction of DNA done in Fiji, or is just that altogether the tissues are sent abroad? And I'm sorry if this is very technical question but I understand that there are technical experts also here. And I guess my question is also, when we mention abroad, where exactly is it being sent? So it's because this is not so uncommon in terms of DNA work. So I'm originally from Portugal, and I've been doing a lot of research there, and we also use this kind of method. So we would send the samples abroad also for DNA sequencing, for example. So I just wanted to try to understand what exact facilities are available if like for the first stage of that work. If you can answer, no, you don't need necessarily to answer this question right now, but I think it's some food for thought for in our discussions also coming forward. And I would really like to be in Fiji, having this course in person, to be honest. So I'm sorry, it's a little late also here. So I'm really appreciating to hear from you. Thank you.
Olivia, would you like to respond to Luciana's question?
Yes, ma'am. Upon interview with Ms. Ritika Prakash from USP Marine, she did not mention in detail on the sampling method.
We cannot hear you, Olivia. Maybe you want to go to the front as you did for your presentation. We cannot hear you. And while Olivia is moving to the front, I want to also ask Olivia or the other member of the second team, what is their most important expectation from this workshop? What do they want to achieve? That's my question to the second team also.
That's the first question, the second question.
Is somebody coming to the front from the second team and try to respond to the question?
Madam, particularly for since we mentioned that with the lack of resources, especially the laboratory, it's available, but that's not standard. That's why there's some samples of marine species they conducted in, especially in USP, is also sent to the project partner abroad for sampling.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
would you like to also respond to my second question about what is the most important expectation out of this workshop from the second team? We cannot hear you. Olivia,
information and approval from the director of the school. So humble apologies, we will not be able to answer the question directly. but the laboratory, it's a standard laboratory, but we do not have the excessive tools to conduct such large and wide research methods in the lab. That answers the question.
Okay, thank you. There was some technical issue, but yeah, I think Luciana, this sampling issue and also sending the sample outside partner is something that you can discuss in the group. So again, I'd like to congratulate the second team for very important presentation. May I invite the third team, the team of Rakuro, Galolo, and Bakloloma.
Good afternoon, Anancio, to each and everyone. Today we'll be presenting a presentation today from Group 3. Presentation outline, the demographical background and the information, fisheries sector responsibility, anti-regulation, the biological sampling, preservation, the status and challenges, taxonomy, status and challenges, managing biological information, its status and challenges, and the status of human leadership in marine science research of Fiji. So in a nutshell, this is the demographical background information of Fiji. I won't go into details, as I'm pretty sure we are all aware of our demographical background as a Fiji citizen. But for the information of our training partners, all this information will be available in our presentation afterwards. So very briefly, this is an overview map of Fiji, where it represents the reefs, the demarcation of reefs, the coastline boundaries, provisional EZ boundaries, and all other demarcations, as this was a map that we extract from MacBio report. Okay, for our group, we choose as per the outline presentation that was given in our handout, whether to present on the country's current status and challenges of the two chapters that we were given to report on in our country report. We chose to report on our fisheries sectors. So for the fisheries sector responsibility and legislation, here are a few of the pointers that we've highlighted here on the screen for the information of participants. The Ministry of Fisheries is responsible for the sustainable management of Fiji's marine resources there, as we are all aware. The ministry, it monitors and protects the health of marine populations in Fiji waters in order to protect the livelihood of communities that rely on fishing. The ministry, through legislative, is able to strike a balance between fisheries and marine resource utilization and the sustainable management and preservation of these resources. The ministry helps Fiji meet its international obligations as part of the global effort to combat overfishing and prevent the extinction of marine species that are currently at risk. Also, the responsibility of the ministry is to help to give full consideration to emerging developments in the fisheries sector on the issues relating to conservation and new solutions employed in the fisheries sector to combat illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing practices. Some of the responsibility continue in the legislation, the ministry that delivers its regulatory and service responsibility for national fisheries management through its 6 divisions, namely the offshore division, research, resource assessment and development division, aquaculture division, inshore fisheries management division, fleet and technical supports division, and the extension advisory service division. On to chapter 1. Chapter 1 for our country report is on the assessment of marine bioresources information in Fiji. The current status. It's in most cases, marine bio information or activity is only undertaken during assessment survey, as and when required, particularly for Ciguatera toxicity. They are very rare and only for water quality sample for pathogens and algae, then a flagellate, and for destructive fishing methods justification. This is where we have our marine assessment, marine bioinformation is undertaken. So the challenges for that is the capacity. We lack capacity with the ministry, and there is no laboratory facility as we speak. Also, one of the challenges here is the experts, the lack thereof with the ministry. Although we undertake preliminary assessment for marine bioinformation or whatever activity, but the expertise within the ministry is something that we lack. Other activities that that we also undertake as part of this assessment on marine bioinformation is a SPR, or the spawning potential ratio survey, in which this is one of a core role of our research division. But in our in the division where we came from, most of our team members, we participate in the trialing of a new approach to assess and reform small-scale fisheries management with this activity on the spawning potential survey. Some of the challenges while undertaking this activity or this assessment is the weather. In terms of data collector, the weather, alternate weather pattern, it to reduce the amount of fish data that need to be collected within the given period of time. Secondly is the fisherman's catch. The targeted fish, they are not, the targeted fish or the list of targeted species that we after, it's not in there with their catch. So those are some of the challenges that we face while undertaking this SPR, or the spawning potential research surveys. Also some of the activities that we conduct as part of this marine bioresource information is the grouper, coral trout, grouper and coral trout, kaukaua and donu. In Fiji, there is we have seasonal ban of these species from June through to September, and the status, current status now. Through this exercise or through this activity undertaken by our team in collaboration with the division where we came from and other division, we have the ban have resulted. The ban on these two species have resulted from the finding made through a joint collaboration with research, survey, work on fish spawning aggregation site conducted by Department of Fisheries in collaboration with Science and Conservation of Fish Aggregations. And the University of Hong Kong. So the challenges that we face are the enforcement, the monitoring, control, and surveillance. Secondly is the species identification. So basically those are two major challenges that we face while undertaking this, this activity.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, but you have 1 minute left. Sorry.
Okay, for taxonomy and status, we've got only the basic level of taxonomy that are readily available and applicable to the level of work within fisheries management and conservation, which is utilized by the ministry. Secondly, there's no expertise within government or ministry, but available with IAS and USP. And third, and thirdly is we have a USB that are able to do basic idea of a new species. So the challenges is one, the expertise that are not held within the ministry, although we just do the basic level, but we lack the expertise. Secondly, USP and SPC, the expertise are often sought for advanced level taxonomy. Yeah? So quickly moving on to our second last, the managing of biological information, current status now as we speak. The database it's held within USP. Generic biological information through is available with the ministry. At divisional level, we only assist in data collection for research purposes and particular fisheries project or mariculture activities. Challenges and managing biological information. One, the state could confirm to agree monitoring and research procedures and data resolution to ensure a uniform approach at the national level. Chapter 2 on the assessment of women leadership in Fiji. The current status are mostly held within the academia, with women scientists and researchers being employed within the academia. Second point, the government support is provided as and when needed. And academically, government officials have built their capacity over the years with the support of countries such as Korea, but the sustainability of this program is what requires attention. Challenges in establishing women leadership in marine research. One is the priority areas to be specified and aligned to national imperatives. Two, the lack of somewhat therefore interest in marine science research, as it is seen as too technical and time consuming. Three, the recognition, weighing marine scientific research work against a salary paid job and the traditional recognition of the two in cultural context. Another point that we highlight is a tertiary level support of women in marine research, that is identify research topic to address the evolving issues on marine research by women found in Fiji. So that concludes our presentation for this afternoon. Maka.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate again the third team. I'm warned also by Dr. Mo that we need to proceed more quickly. So I will try to maybe reduce the question, but still I want to ask the third team, what is your most important expectation out of this workshop? Because that's very important for our proceeding in coming days.
Thank you, Madam, for the questions. I guess the group's expectation for the course will be to, since it's to do with marine bioresources information, is to gauge or to have more understanding of the unique characteristic of the sea and its inhabitants. And of course, networking amongst the participants in order to improve networking and easy access of data. Since we have lack of capacity on taxonomy, we anticipate to gather much info on this topic as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you address very important points of networking, because that's the starting point for increasing data access and data sharing. So as I'm chased by Dr. Mo, I need to move to the next group. Can we invite the next group, a group of Felici, Diana, and Tarisi? While the next group is preparing for the presentation, I want to just highlight that we'll have a chance to, throughout the days, that also informing you about various training opportunities available from ISA. So I will ask Luciana to share all those information, especially with regard to marine scientific research. And Fiji as the big ocean state, I hope everybody can understand marine scientific research is the most important field that everybody should focus, not just technical and time-consuming subject. It's the most interesting subject. So is this next team ready? Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. On behalf of our group, Kalisi will be with the technician, and Diana, and I'm Tarisi. Will be presenting on our country report. We've been discussing on the Friday if this country report is really aligned to the question. However, there couldn't be any more changes. So our report is mostly focused on our area of work and how data and information is related to our ministry's priorities and also the national priorities or outcomes. For the content of this brief presentation, it's on the background of major fisheries resource status. This is mostly from open source and closed source, and also for most research work that has been done in the decades and also recent surveys. The research and development priorities, taxonomy, management of information, the status and challenges, and also the
Excuse me,
assessment.
madam. I can't see the screen. So would you check your screen again, please?
Most apologies, the technician is working on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I see the screen.
Yes, for our group presentation, we'll present on the background on the major fisheries resource status as acquired from research assessment and publication through open source and closed source data, and also on research and development priorities, taxonomy and management of data, the status and challenges, and also assessment of women's leadership in marine scientific research in terms of status and challenges. Thank you. In terms of research and development goals, just overall, the Fiji's EEZ, it covers 1.29 kilometers per squared. The Fiji shelf area is about 23,376 kilometers squared. The coastline is about 5,010 kilometers. Mangrove cover is about 570 kilometers squared, with 65,243 hectares. However, the cover is currently declining due to coastal development. Coastal reef area, the coastal line is around 10,000 kilometers squared. And for research and development, it all covers the areas of offshore aquaculture and also coastal waters. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. The major fisheries profile, as you can see on the slide, the inventory of the coastal reef fisheries fishes in Fiji, it's almost 2,000 fish species that's being recorded within our coastal waters. And for coral, there's a record of 354 species. For sea cucumber, 30 species, sharks and rays, freshwater fishes within our inland waters, and also benthic marine algae. There's about 422 taxa being recorded by researchers within the country, including the ministry's research and development section. So to note, the actual number of species of fish and coral or fauna and flora is likely to be much greater. So just to add on, Fiji's coral reefs are thus rightfully recognized as being world-class in terms of ecological significance. Most of these data, you can access this on the Fiji Fisheries profile. It was recently published in 2018 by the consultant and also signed off by the Honorable Minister of Fisheries. Moving on to the research and development priorities in terms of surveys, data collection and management of data. First is on fisheries resource inventory surveys. As you can see, the method of data collection is on biological assessment, socioeconomic survey through socioeconomic survey, questionnaires. And from these surveys, we have the outcome of working with our stakeholders, the communities and other agencies and institutions in terms of formulating the community-based management plans. And the data we have those through biological surveys, we have finfish and invertebrate surveys, collection of recording of genus and species data, and also benthic coverage, and through our socioeconomic surveys with questionnaires with our household, through household surveys, we have frequency of use in terms of fisheries resource use, and also economic returns through fisheries alternative or income source. And so these fisheries resource inventory, they mostly deal with the inventory of fisheries resources within the customary waters of Fiji. There's about 410 customary grounds within Fiji. There's a stock status of different resources using different methodology, and also the outcomes, the formation of management plans that I alluded to earlier, and also contribution to the national inventory or records of inshore fauna and flora or resources as seen in the earlier slide. For that slide, as I've alluded to, you can access the Fiji Fisheries profile 2018, a review of the profile done in 1985 by the former ministry's personnel. And so moving on to special mapping. Those are the type of data collection that the R&D section within the ministry is collecting. This is specifically focused on overlaying of survey results, published data open access or authorized or closed data source, where there is a specialized personnel within the unit. And also the Ministry of Fisheries works with the other agencies and NGOs on special map of user results using data information. An example, working with organizations such as IUCN on special mapping of inshore, offshore usage related information for MPA designation, such as on data sets on oceanography, dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll, currents, downwell and pH, salinity, etc. Deep coral water and organism richness, diversity and distribution within our EEZ, and also within our archipelagic waters, topography, types of activities such as transportation, shipping, fishing, etc. And all of these are combined into mapping for best informed decision on sustainable use and meeting international and national targets on management and conservation. In terms of our data, we actually have those database within the division. Procfish database, our software analysis and the Postgres databases. And also we're working with our IT unit within the ministry to come up with our shared drive in terms of keeping and updating our data and all our public reports in terms of movement to publication of the technical reports. In terms of species of special interest, we are focusing into commodities and citation, special of interest species. We're looking at groupers, cetaceans, Wilson dolphins, sea turtles, sharks and rays, and also lobsters, coconut crabs, and sea cucumbers. For this, the Research and Development Unit is working with OFD in terms of cetaceans to come up with the cetaceans or the whales and dolphins, or particularly the whales management plan to support trade agreements with United States. In terms of sample collections, the ministry provides support through correspondence, and the results are returned back to the ministry with specific use on use of the samples and its purpose. Next slide, please. In terms of ciguatera fish poisoning, the division is actually looking at water sampling and validating sites in terms of sampling level of seaweed toxins and raising awareness and alert on ciguatera fish poisoning areas, the various species, and also seasonal ciguatera fish poisoning events. So the ministry is actually working with agencies and also Ministry of Health and the University of South Pacific. In terms of our commodity profiles, this is where we are trying to improve the quality and also the value of our niche products. We are looking at sea urchins and anodara and also mangrove shrimp. This is where our sampling by the team and also research is conducted with our inline institutions such as the universities, Fiji National University and the University of the South Pacific on preservation methods, and also prolonging shell life of products, which is also adaptation strategy in terms of maintaining, supporting food security through the impact of climate change. In terms of protected area and monitoring and establishment, the division actually works with agencies in the regions in terms of monitoring and biological service and social service, the establishment in protected areas, collect all sorts of data, and also have those indicator species to see the effectiveness of non-protected area or support adaptive management in communities, NGOs, resorts and hoteliers and other stakeholders. This is to support food security and also economic returns. For coastal habitat inventory and mapping, the division within the ministry is working at looking at critical habitat mapping of our important habitats in terms of seagrass, meadows, habitat of inventory of habitats, and its monitoring with associated species for the purpose of assessing climate resilience. And so, sorry, next slide. For fisheries impact assessment surveys or environmental finding surveys, this is where the evaluation of resources within a proposed area for development and inventory of resources, where the team puts a value from the present market value and projections within on the compensation within the term of list that is being provided to the proponent. And the recommendations are also given on minimizing resource loss, on mitigating actions that will support biodiversity. And those are all the methods of data collection and also the data that is being kept within the division, within the ministry. And this is where we also come in with our stakeholder consultations. Moving on to pole development, also joint clan agriculture development through the establishment of a project within our pole and agriculture. We are currently working with 3 species in Fiji. There are inventory of 3 species in Fiji, the Margaritifera, Mixima, and the Melamella. However, the ministry is focusing on the Margaritifera and also the Melamella through the production of pearl and also the spat collection from our communities to our industries such as the Fiji hunters, jay hunters, and the other big players within the pearl industry. And for giant clam, we have 7 species in Fiji. However, the mariculture station in Mokoma is working in production of 4 species through in terms of reseeding. And also in the future, we are working with the Department of Environment to move towards the commercial trade of these species. And we're also working with our consultant to establish finfish culture in terms of indoor culture and also the outdoor cage culture, where this will support the looking at grouper and rabbitfish, where this activity will support high production and meet our market demand, both local and overseas, and also support economic returns and relieve pressure on capture fisheries. And I would like to add on that there is also a program on the excess benefit sharing, where this is a system in place for the exploration of marine resources through bioprospecting, working with our institution, our research organizations, such as University of South Pacific and regional, and also regional and international organizations in terms of using researching into marine products that can be used for clinical purposes, cancer treating medicines, etc., and cosmetics. And I think USP was working on bioprospecting of sponges. And so I think my colleague can explain a bit on the excess benefit sharing mechanism.
Naka, just on just a brief explanation on the ABS project, the access benefit sharing project. In this project with as ministry, our main program is to provide a support letter for researchers who are coming from overseas and willing to undertake research here in Fiji, and intending to do extraction on some of the coral species and sponges in Fiji waters. So that was our main role there, and with the also from I think the offshore division, they were also assisted in terms of the permitting processes. So that's there, and I think when this activity are carried out in the field, normally our research team, we are normally requested to to join the researcher or USP team with the extraction, when they go out and do the extraction. So that's just a brief role of our research on that project, ABS project.
Thank you. Moving on to the women leadership status and challenges. That's the last
Ma'am,
slide.
could you finish it in a minute, please?
1 minute.
Okay, is that possible?
Yes, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry for this.
In terms of assessment of women's leadership in marine resource research, as you can see on the slide, for R&D unit, there's 11 females out of the 42 personnel within the research and development division. And in terms of the female supervisors, we have 5 females within the whole division as supervisors and taking the operational manager and also the manager of the division. In terms of the, I'll just like to briefly explain on the challenges and a bit on the slide. In terms of the leadership qualities, I think there is an ability of women. And speaking in terms of the leadership qualities, there's ability of women to know their qualities and also self-assessment of the leadership capacity and being able to deliver or being competent within the leading roles or more or less undertake roles and responsibilities in being able to deliver in the same expectancy or higher in a male-dominated field. Within the research field, it is your gender does not limit you to perform, but the challenge is changing the mindset of your colleagues or being constantly able to demonstrate or prove yourselves to deliver to the expectations. And within a cultural in the Pacific, you have hierarchy and position in communities where positions are mostly held by men and also within households. So when we as women are leading programs or teams, you're expected to be smart in your approach and your applications and also keeping in mind these norms. But in the end, you also have to deliver the same as your male colleagues do. And I would like to share an example here where I think one of my female colleagues here from the Western Division is here, where we had to cross ocean space in a small craft vessel with our male colleagues to do multi-project works in the field. And this was such a day before the cyclone hit TC Herald, I think. And another incident was crossing the deep trench and raging wave activity of the Bly waters in a small swing craft with my colleague here, Miliki. Where during this period, we were the only 2 female colleagues, and I was the supervisor of the team, where as a female and as a leader, I had to show the confidence to our male colleagues, mostly the male attaches who were actually stunned with fear because they were seeing the raging waves and trying to calm them down and making open jokes and noting that we were going to overcome the waves and also do our work and reach the mainland safely. So it was, in a way, trying to prove yourself to our male colleagues that you can also do the work that they do. And you can also go underwater. And within any environment you're required to work in, you're able to deliver to the task. And I think we also limited, and now it's been improving in terms of recognition and empowerment, where women are now being heard in meetings and discussions, etc. I can see here that women are mostly involved in all areas of work, and there is no need for recognition in allowing women's participation in key roles. We are fortunate that we have organizations that support women's development through capacity building programs, through in terms of negotiation roles, etc., in higher platforms, and also support ongoing policy on gender issues in any type of platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing very, very impressive also story showing the woman leadership. And I'm proud of all of you. I think we had the technical issues, so we kind of lost a lot of time. So Dr. Mo will guide us in terms of how we can proceed, because where I am is reaching to the midnight. So I think maybe we can improve our technicality tomorrow, and then maybe invite other groups. So Dr. Mo, would you like to guide us?
Sure. First of all, my sincere apologies for all the technical problems and difficulties. Since we have time schedule to abide by, I like to stop this session right now, the country report. But tomorrow we have a Q&A session for the action plan from 12 to 13. We can utilize that time for the country report. And I like to proceed to the next session, which is introducing action plan. The reason is action plan is really important, and then probably it will benefit all of you for making presentation of country report, also taking lectures afterwards. So it is my advice to move on to next session, action plan, and then we'll finish this today's program probably on time.
Okay, thank you. I hope this is agreeable with all the participants. I'm really sorry for the remaining team, but I guess you get one more day to also improve your presentation. So this session is not completed yet. We will continue tomorrow, and Dr. Mo will also find the time to continue this session with the remaining four groups of presentation, but we'll proceed with as scheduled for the presentation on action plan. I think that will be delivered by Dr. Mo, since his presentation will guide the group in terms of preparing their activities, group activities for the final outcome of the workshop. I guess we should proceed. And then we'll find another time to continue this national report presentation. And I just want to again congratulate the previous team, because the details they had in the table was really impressive. And I think that is very, very important. And I'm sure my colleague Luciana will be very happy to go over those tables and also give some also later during the group work some ideas how also it can be compatible with the database development, how those information can be used for the developing reporting template. So Luciana, I will just ask you to do it next time in coming days, but let's invite Dr. Mo for his presentation. Thank you so much for all the team who made a great presentation today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me proceed to my presentation about action plan. I will do as quick as possible. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can you make a full screen mode?
Just a second. Okay. Is that full screen now?
Yes, yes, thank you. Please
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Let me go ahead. Okay, again, thank you so much for attending Global Women's Workshop, and I really appreciate your country report. I'm very impressed, and I really appreciate your all the efforts. In this presentation, I'd like to share with you the purpose of this program, the action plan. The definition of action plan can be different depending on the context. Therefore, it might be very challenging to write an action plan without a guiding line. So I'd like to give you a guideline for action. This guideline will be shared with, also shared with the lecturers and facilitators. So the discussion and lecture will be all focused on this writing an action plan. Before I begin the presentation, I would like to highlight that the objective of the action plan is to develop a collaborative approaches to enhance the generation, sharing, and dissemination of marine bioresource information. The country report you have made a presentation and you also have prepared is the foundation of action plan, because without thorough understanding the context and identifying the issues, we won't be able to produce the action plan. In this sense, I ask the participants to prepare a country report, which are composed of two parts. The first part is about assessment of marine bioresource information system in Fiji. This part is again structured by three subparts, which are sampling, taxonomy, and managing biological information. The three subparts are indeed the basic elements of marine bioresource information system in MABI. The second part is assessment of woman leadership in marine scientific research of Fiji. Another key aspect of this program is gender equality. We would like to know woman leadership in Fiji. We did our best to invite, we did our best to invite female leaders in this field, including the first female director of International Seabed Authority, Dr. Jian Lee, and Dr. Luciana Zenio. I believe sharing the challenges and experience will bring inspiration. Combining two parts, the country report becomes the foundation of an action plan for developing a collaborative approaches to enhance the generation, sharing, and dissemination of marine bioresource systems. So here I would like to visualize the action plan. Okay, here we just finished, we are finishing the presentation of a national country report. So to understand national context. So in understanding of national context, we had two components. The first one was assessment of the marine bioresource information in Fiji, and second, assessment of women's leadership in marine research. At the same time, we have four focusing areas, which is taxonomy, sampling, biological information, and gender equity. So to solve this problem, the current status, to arrive at the final destination, which is solving the problem, there are approaches we have to take and figure out. The approaches are scientific cooperation and stakeholder engagement and communication capacity building. In a more detailed explanation, to solve this problem, probably you will need to find who to cooperate with and who to talk and what scientists do you need to cooperate with. That would be the form of scientific cooperation, so approaches for cooperation. But at the same time, you will need to find out who should invite it. This can be stakeholder engagement. For Mavic side, if Mavic wants to establish a laboratory in Fiji, first we will need to find what scientists, in what area does Fiji have scientists. There will be approaches for scientific cooperation. Also, we'll find out which institution we need to cooperate with. There will be stakeholder engagement. And third will be communication. We need to find out how we can communicate with the stakeholders and the scientists, or what would be the most effective way to communication. There will be each culture, each country has their own way, so we need to find that form of communication. And lastly, not lastly, but if there is anything like a lack of capacity in Mavic, we need to find out the way to build capacity in Mavic. So there will be approaches for scientific cooperation. So this is I try to visualize the action plan. So in the next slide, this shows the connection between all the slides. And as I mentioned, the national context gives us understanding the challenges and needs, and it becomes by understanding the status. And then we have 4 main focus areas: taxonomy, sampling, gender equity, and bioinformation. This all goes together through approaches for scientific cooperation, stakeholder engagement, communication, and capacity building. It becomes the action plan for enhancing the generation and sharing of marine bioresource information. Here, so let me, in other words, let me just give you more information and guidelines for writing an action plan. The objective will be develop collaborative approaches to enhance the generation, sharing, and dissemination of marine bioresource information. So you will share the objective. But as you already know, there will be 3 different groups. Each group will have different goals. For example, the sampling group will have different goals under the same objective. And bioresource information management group, it will have different goals. So we will have the different goals under the same objective. Second, the scope of action plan would be national. So when you write an action plan, the activity should be something national level. Also, mode of work and as I already said, participant work in group, develop draft action plans with the inputs from resource speakers and other participants. And in breakout session, you have your own facilitator, and then facilitator will help you and facilitate your conversation, as well as giving you input to develop the draft action plan. So each group will be composed of 3 groups. Group 1, biological sampling. Group 2, taxonomic identification. And Group 3, and sharing of marine resource information and data. So, and we would like to ask you to write 5 to 10 page write-up, 12 points in English, and PowerPoint slide less than 10 slides for the last day's presentation. And we would like to have these outputs by Thursday evening, exactly 5 p.m. So those will be context and then guiding questions for the action plan development. Most of them I already mentioned. First, the goals and objective, which what does the action plan seek to enable the recipient to do? And issues like you will find challenges, opportunities, you already found it, and those will be issues to be addressed. And as I mentioned, the key actors and stakeholders should be mentioned. Who should be invited for collaboration? And what are their potential contribution in achieving the goals and objectives? So you need to find out the actors and stakeholders, and also you need to understand what potential contribution they can bring to your action plan. Also, approaches for collaboration this can be, for example, what are the institutional collaboration? I mean, what level of institution would you like to make the collaboration network? Or is there anything legal collaboration? Or for example, national law and protocol, or also scientific and technical conditions should be considered for the achieving the goals and objectives. And lastly, expected outcomes and success criteria. What are the intended long-term impacts of the action plan is very important. So your action plan should have expected outcome. And you also need to find out how you are going to measure if the action plan, I mean, implementation is successful or not. So we like to ask you to produce your action plan based on these key elements for action plan development. So with this action plan, with these key elements, I believe we can have very successful and fruitful action plan. And then this is the group facilitators. Biological sampling will be facilitated by Dr. Luciana Zinio, and group 2 will be taxonomic identification will be facilitated by Dr. Jinuk Baek and me. And third, group 3, Dr. Kyunghwa Baek will be your facilitator. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me right now. And then we also have the Madam Chair here, so she will provide good answers from her experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mo. That was very informative presentation. I just want to highlight that there are 3 groups. So the first group, sampling and collection and taxonomy identification, is more related to the biodiversity data generation, and also another group on information system is more focusing on the sharing of the data. But then there is also this cross-cutting theme throughout the whole group is the gender equity. So I think whenever each group is working on this, the important key theme, the cross-cutting theme, gender equity, maybe should not be forgotten. And another point I want to highlight is that you are doing this for your own country and also for your own people, and also for the ocean that you have. You are not doing this for KOICA, you are not doing this for MABI or ISA. So the presentation delivered by Dr. Mo is only guideline, but I would like to ask all of you just think over overnight and come up with some suggestion. If you find that you want to add some other elements, discuss it with your facilitator. And if you want to skip some elements, you don't find it useful, you can do that. So that's, and always think about how you want to implement it in next 10 years. If I want to just share my anecdote, my story is that I remember in my late 20s, I was also in a training for integrated coastal management. There was no concept of integrated coastal management at the time in my country, but I was asked to develop action plan for my country, how to develop the institutional and national legal system for that. And I was able to implement that action plan out of training for the next 10 years. So just take this as an opportunity to put your dream about your ocean and your biodiversity and your efforts for biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. So this is only, we are here only to facilitate, but then the outcome should be owned by you, all of you, and by your country and by your people. So that's something that I want to highlight. So I really look forward to hearing from you. And also facilitator will directly work with you and even via email to Dr. Mo, provide your suggestion based on the presentation. And I'd like to ask Dr. Mo to circulate your presentation to all the participants, not only to the facilitator, so that each participant can provide some suggestion, and especially by the group. But before I close, I'd like to invite my colleague, Luciana, if you want to share any observations so far, especially related to action planning, if you have any question as a facilitator.
Thank you, June. No, I think I don't think I have a particular question. The Dr. Mo presentation is very clear, and I think it provides very good guidance. But I think it's yeah, good opportunity for the participants to think about overnight, maybe now that they have also prepared the very comprehensive national country reports. I was very happy to see so much information already being compiled and shared. So I think we have a lot to work on. And I also look forward to hear more about your inputs, your ideas, and how we can base also on the experience that we have and how we've been organizing collaborations and trying to facilitate engagement between scientists and the industry and the government and various different initiatives. So I think there are a lot that I can share with you also, and that can provide more that I will share tomorrow. Then we can have another night to digest, and then come back for the more long discussion. So I'm really looking forward to the next few days, and I hope I will also share a bit of my story. Is not yet as as impressive as my colleague. I'm a bit younger in that sense, but I'm also learning a lot, and I think I can also share a lot of the experience I had so far. And I think this is in the end a good opportunity for us as female technical experts, leaders one day. So I think it's very good also for me to learn from your experience. So yes, have a very good rest of the day there, and look forward to see you tomorrow.
So unless, thank you, Luciana. Unless there is a burning question from the participants, I don't know, Dr. Mo, how they can raise their hands. Is there any raising hand function? I don't see anybody.
Yeah, they do have, I understand.
Okay, yeah. I don't see any hand. So maybe as suggested, I hope you can think over the action planning, and Dr. Mo, please circulate the presentation so that we can also receive any suggestion or questions over the email also. So back to you, Dr. Mo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, my ISA colleagues and everyone, and especially all the participants. Again, I really sincerely apologize for technical difficulties and all the problems, but we'll do our best to solve the problem today, so we won't have any problems from tomorrow. This is the end of first day of meeting. I just want to make short announcements. Tomorrow, the meeting will start at 12 o'clock in this time. So please check your system and be ready on time, since we are going to have a lecture from tomorrow, and then we will do the country report again from 12 o'clock. Okay, thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Bye.